from zoot suits to street codes. America's role in creating its own gang's origins. Of Pachuco culture in the late 1930s, Pachuco culture emerged among Mexican-American youth in El Paso, before spreading to Los Angeles and other southwestern cities. It was a bold statement of identity from second-generation immigrants caught between two worlds, wearing high-waisted zoot suits and long coats. Young Pachucos defied both assimilation and wartime fabric rationing laws. They spoke calo, a fluid mix of Spanish, English, and invented slang that fostered community and secrecy. Women, the Pachucas, rebelled against gender expectations with pompadours, draped skirts, and sharp eyeliner. What the mainstream viewed as fashion excess was, in truth, a declaration of autonomy within an environment that denied equality. Resistance and criminalization. World War II brought both patriotism and prejudice. The 1942 Sleepy Lagoon case, where Mexican-American youths were wrongfully convicted, and the 1943 Zoot Suit riots, when servicemen attacked Pachucos in Los Angeles, exposed the depth of racial bias. Newspapers recast Zoot Suiters as delinquents and traitors. Yet even under attack, Pachucos shaped the foundations of later Chicano pride. Their very visibility, choosing flamboyance when invisibility was safer, was a political act of claiming space in a country that preferred them silent. Transition to the Chicano movement. After the war, the defiant fashion mellowed, but its spirit ripened into political awareness. By the 1960s, the Chicano movement transformed aesthetic resistance into organized activism. Groups like the Brown Berets swapped zoot suits for disciplined khakis and berets, fighting for educational equity, farm workers' rights, and protection from police brutality. Calo persisted as living memory, linking generations while the movement reframed Mexican-American identity from outsider to agent of change. The rise of Cholo culture. By the 1970s, a new expression of barrio identity took shape, the Cholo. Rooted in blue-collar toughness, Cholo style favored crisp khaki pants, flannel shirts buttoned at the collar, Nike Cortez sneakers, and visible tattoos of neighborhood affiliations. Where the Pachucos had expressed flamboyant individuality, Cholos projected disciplined unity. As heavy industry declined and street economies replaced formal jobs, these visual codes offered belonging amid instability. Cholo, once a colonial slur, became a reclaimed identity symbolizing pride, survival, and brotherhood. Women, the cholas, mirrored the stance with bold liner, oversized hoops, and strengthened posture, American-made gangs. From culture to survival. By the 1980s, social neglect and mass incarceration transformed neighborhood crews into formalized gangs. The Sureños of Southern California, the Norteños of the North, and hundreds of local sets evolved not from imported criminality, but from American abandonment, product of redlining, aggressive policing, and economic collapse. Modern Chicano identity. From streets to screens, the living legacy of Cholos. In 2026, the Cholo is no longer just a local archetype. It's a global emblem of resilience. Though the media still connects the image to gangs, the Cholo aesthetic represents something deeper: heritage, discipline, and loyalty. The baggy pants, spotless white tees, and sharp creases draw a direct line to the Pachucos of the 1940s. The zoot suits' wide cuts and exaggerated form symbolized rebellion in an age of conformity. Today's creased khakis and oversized flannels carry that defiance forward. Every fold, every press of the iron says, "I control how I'm seen." Clothes remain. Armor, a way to project pride and control when the world offers little of either, to iron pants into razor lines or keep spotless. Sneakers on dusty streets is to make a quiet declaration of dignity. In an era of disposable fashion, that kind of precision is resistance. It asserts that appearance can still be a sacred craft. Within Chicano communities, that dedication transcends trend. It's culture rendered wearable. Lowriders and the art of grounded. Pride lowriders remain the pulse of Chicano expression. Customized cars turned into kinetic art galleries. From East LA and San Diego to the Bay Area, Albuquerque and Phoenix, weekend cruise nights transform ordinary streets into exhibitions of memory and identity. Candy-painted Impalas, Monte Carlos gleaming in chrome, murals of the Virgin of Guadalupe or barrio scenery. Each vehicle tells a personal and collective story. The philosophy behind low riding, low and slow, is also a philosophy of life. It reflects patience, control, and the serenity of moving with intention in a world that rushes you. Once dismissed or outlawed as gang displays, cruising has reemerged as a community tradition. Repealed bans on lowriders in cities like Los Angeles mark cultural victory. What was once criminalized is now heralded as craftsmanship. And Americana. Street codes and cultural continuity. Modern Chicano identity goes far beyond street affiliations. It's a living system of respect built on history, posture, and language. The Calo slang of Pachucos still flows through Spanglish and barrio talk. Orale, vato ruca firme. In the digital era, these words are both nostalgic and fresh, showing up in songs, memes, and murals for older generations. The code centers on honor and keeping one's word. For younger Chicanos, it blends respect for that tradition with fresh ambitions. Today's youth fuse heritage with entrepreneurship, running small clothing labels, creating podcasts, painting murals, or mixing beats that balance barrio roots with modern vision. Through these acts, Chicano culture renews itself continuously, refusing to fade. The soundtrack of the street's music serves as the cultural megaphone for this new generation. Artists like King Lil G, Toker, Brownside, Cujo the Savage, Conejo, and other figures such as Young Dopey, Peso and Lefty Gunplay. The clean crease of pants, the gleam of a lowrider, and the echo of barrio slang all weave together into a story of belonging through style and integrity. From zoot suits to lowriders to digital art, each cultural form continues the same message. We were here, and we remain. Chicano culture's greatest innovation has never been limited to fashion or music. Its true genius lies in its ability to transform adversity into beauty, to turn survival into an art form, and to keep its history alive through every generation. History has a way of repeating itself, especially when style becomes a battleground for identity. During the 1940s, young Mexican-American Pachucos in Los Angeles used bold zoot suits to assert pride and individuality. Their fashion, broad shoulders, baggy trousers, and sharp style, challenged a society that viewed them as outsiders. The backlash erupted violently during the 1943 Zoot Suit riots, when servicemen and civilians targeted Chicano youth simply for the way they looked. What began as cultural expression was twisted into un-American behavior. Fast forward to the Trump administration, and the parallels are hard to ignore. Once again, brown identity and expression came under suspicion. Anti-immigrant rhetoric, increased deportations, and talk of law and order fueled stereotypes linking Chicanos and Latinos with criminality. Just as newspapers in the 40s painted zoot suiters as troublemakers, modern media and political discourse often reduced the cholo. Aesthetic to gang imagery, clothing, language, and music, symbols of heritage and survival, became politicized markers of otherness. In both eras, the same message emerged. Visibility was treated as defiance. Yet Chicanos turned that perception into strength. The zoot suit was a declaration of dignity despite discrimination. In the Trump years, lowriders, art collectives, and Chicano rappers carried that tradition forward, turning pride into protest. Each generation used creativity to reclaim its image, refusing to let fear or bias define who they were. The lesson echoes across decades. When society tries to police appearance, marginalized people transform style into resistance. From the streets of wartime Los Angeles to the neighborhoods, challenged by Trump-era rhetoric, Chicano culture has remained unbroken. Its fashion, art, and language standing as acts of resilience and unapologetic pride. When Lefty Gunplay Franklin stood on the Grammy stage this year, golden trophy in hand, he wasn't just celebrating a career milestone, he was making history. The Chicano rapper from East Los Angeles turned a lifetime of struggle, pride, and resilience into music that speaks for generations. Once told to quiet down or blend in, his victory is more than personal achievement. It's a cultural statement echoing decades of Chicano defiance and artistry. Franklin's journey mirrors the old stories whispered through barrios and immortalized in murals. The tales of Pachucos who donned zoot suits during the 1940s to assert identity in the face of discrimination. Back then, young Mexican Americans used style as a form of rebellion, wearing wide-shouldered jackets and baggy pants as bold as their pride. Society saw the look as un-American, and violence erupted in the 1943 Zoot Suit riots. That attempt to suppress identity only strengthened it. Today, Lefty Gunplay Franklin embodies that same fire, but his weapon is a microphone. During the Trump administration, Franklin's art carried the weight of new struggles that felt painfully familiar. Anti-immigrant rhetoric, police profiling, and media stereotypes painted Chicano youth as threats. Yet where others saw defiance, Franklin saw inspiration. His rhymes told stories of his community's endurance, of lowriders rolling through East LA, of mothers working double shifts, of kids pushing through systemic barriers with swagger and faith. His lyrics transformed pain into pride, echoing a truth generations old. Visibility is resistance. Winning a Grammy in that context becomes deeply symbolic. Franklin didn't just rise despite the Trump era, he rose because of what it revealed. His success speaks to a lineage that stretches from the Pachucos of the 1940s to modern Chicano rappers who turn rhythm into reclamation. Each beat, each verse, carries the defiant pulse of culture that refuses to disappear, as Franklin said in his acceptance speech. Standing on stage in a tailored suit with Pachuca-style flair, "This is for my people who've ever been told their culture was a problem. We are the art." In that single moment, the Zoot-suited spirits of Los Angeles past seemed to nod in approval. Lefty gunplay. Franklin's Grammy isn't just a win for one artist, it's a continuation of a movement. Proof that from every attempt to silence Chicano expression, a louder, prouder voice is